coming up next, I'm delighted to welcome our next speaker, Craig Crawford. He is the founder of Differently Enabled. When Craig Crawford found himself in the ICU due to COVID, his life was forever changed. Today, Craig is on a mission to make fashion more inclusive for the 1 billion people globally who live with restricted mobility. Here to share his story and the personal journey that led him to work in adaptive fashion is Craig. Craig, welcome to 3D
Hello.
Tech Fest.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. But I know everyone's going to be really excited to hear your story because I was the first time I've heard it. So I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. I am just going to share my slides with everybody. It says I have no slides. This is always fun. Never get on stage with children or technology or pets. And I seem to be at least two of those three. All right, here we go. And I'm just going to make this full size. Tell me if you can see that, because I have gotten myself out of presentation mode. All good?
It looks great, Craig.
Oh, thank you. So I don't know how many of you know me, but I come from this industry, 30 years, starting as a designer for the Gap and moving into Old Navy, starting that, and then leaving Gap Inc. and moving into an American corporation called Liz Claiborne, where I worked in the technology space for 10 years, onboarding brands into systems used to design and develop product. Well, I came to London to lead the digital transformation at Burberry as a creative person within IT. And so I've been in this industry for 30 years. And then things started happening. And I'm going to show you a slide that even when I look at it, I get kind of like, wow, I can't believe this is reality. But that experience had me think about my life. And I began working with a global team to create what we now call Differently Enabled, which is a fashion label for those who feel excluded from the fashion industry, for those living with disability, for those who have atypical body morphology. We are researchers, we are scientists, we're designers, we're engineers, we're technicians, we're data scientists, and we work very closely with our community to co-create and to make customized products and services that are just for our consumer. This statistic gets bantered around a lot, a billion people living with some form of restricted mobility in the world today. Fashion is not frivolous. And until what happened to me happened, I never realized that fashion was so exclusive. I always thought it was inclusive. I always thought it was the customer's problem. You didn't save your money, you can't afford it, save your money. You don't fit into it, lose some weight. It's always my perspective in the past that it was the customer's issue. And that was just wrong. When you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you do good. And everyone should have the opportunity to express themselves through fashion. So here's what happened to me. That's me. COVID tried to kill me. And I was in the hospital for 48 days in March of 2020. I was in a coma for 21 days during that time, right around when the World Health Organization declared COVID a global pandemic. So we knew really nothing about it. When I woke up, I was so weak I couldn't hold a phone. And as I continued to get better, my occupational therapist, whose name is Michael Burke, said to me, Craig, the sooner we get you in your clothes, the faster you're going to heal. And so I said, great. And I sent home and said, hey, I want my blah-de-blah and blah-de-blah. And then when they came to the hospital, I couldn't put them on because they were too lightweight. And so then I again called home and said, hey, I'd like these. And then I couldn't get them off to go to the bathroom. And when Michael came into my room the second day, and I'm sitting in my own puddle of urine going, this is pretty, Michael said, no. What you've learned is you need a waistband that's elastic, or you've learned you need a drawstring, or you've learned you need a fly. And all of a sudden, my perspective on my clothing was very, very different than it had been in the past. And so that's why we started this. I feel very strongly about working with people who share our values, and I'm hoping many of you watching will want to work with us. So I'm telling you now, you got to be fearless, you better be honest, and we are creatively positive. We launched in 2021 at the end of May at the ASA conference. This is a Swiss organization, and they were declaring at their To a Canon conference that fashion should be inclusive. So we were so delighted and honored to tell our story there. And these are the 7 points of their manifesto: that everyone living with disability has the freedom of choice, the right to have their own style, ergonomics and autonomy, and to be representation of diversity. And they should be the word to experts. You know, we can't do this without people who inform us. And they should train and they should co-create. And so it was quite an honor to be part of that. We have what we call a 4-step process, and I'm going to quickly walk you through that. The 4-step process is, first we get to know you. Then we call it Let's Play Dress Up. Based on what we've talked about, our design teams work with you to create product and designs that you then tell us will work. And that's both from a style perspective, because we are a fashion house first. And I'm going to say that again. We are a fashion house first. Then when we have co-created, we like what we've done, we use technology to take your measurements, we experiment with that, and then we work in digital twin space, in the 3D space, to share and work with you until we actually produce your clothing. We've learned so much about our consumers, and I have to say that the phrase living with disabilities is quite vast. You can have everyone who's recovering from surgery, to someone who's born with disability, to someone who's had a recent occurrence to cause it. And there's many different forms of that. So we don't design for the disability. We design for the person. So we spend a lot of time understanding who the consumer is, what they do, what they like, what they want to be, what their activities are. And then we use technology to store that information, of course, so that we have a complete 360-degree view and perspective on the consumer. And then we start the fun part, really. Well, quite frankly, the first part's a lot of fun, because talking and meeting people is the thing I love doing the most, I would argue. But based on what we've learned, we then start to look at fabric choices and color, and if you have certain mobility challenges around closures, how do we have that? If you need things to be detachable. If your body is asymmetrical and you want to compensate for that, you want to look symmetrical. Or if your body is atypical and asymmetrical and you want to celebrate that, we want to celebrate that with you. This is an example of a shirt dress that we've created. And then we are pioneering what we call scan and go technology. And we've worked with lots of different technology providers. In a perfect world, we want to be able to scan you or to take photographs of our customer or you, and then go straight to a pattern. We're not there yet, but we've been pushing and trying and learning. And then we start working in the digital space. And then we can show you things in the digital space. How does this look? How can we change it? How can we modify it? And so based on your lifestyle, based on your taste, and based on what we've learned about you, we co-create. Everything that we create is digitally born. And I would highly encourage you to aim your smartphone at this. This is a shirt that we prototyped for me, and you will get the provenance about that shirt. We started this brand from scratch. We care about the environment, we care about animals, we care about people, we care about all of these things. And we don't have to work the same way the apparel industry has historically. And so if you do this, you can see the people who made the clothes, you can understand more about the fabrics, and understand more about the designer who worked with you to do that. And I put down here, because it would be remiss of me not to thank everything, a division of Digimark, who has helped us immensely with this, and tracking the provenance and sharing that with our consumers. We also are repurposing excess industry raw materials. That comes with its own challenges. I'm not going to talk too much about that today, but these are some examples of the fabrics that we now have available in inventory. We don't carry product inventory. We do carry raw material inventory, but by buying what's already available, we're not contributing to making more. And so this, we've got partners who help us scan this. Bazoo, Swatchbook helps us store this information that we can easily move it into our system for design and development, which is B product. We also print digitally on these fabrics and sometimes on finished goods that we obtain. The point here is looking after the environment, not adding to textile going into landfill, preventing that actually, and also more importantly, not so much water being used to print. I now want to show you a video, so we're going to turn it over because I'm petrified of showing videos while I'm broadcasting because they usually don't work. But let's have a little look at Sam and Catherine's very first clothes doing their dance. And I think you can still hear me because there's no audio on this. You guys will cue me and let me know when the video's done, but it's okay for me to talk over it, isn't it?
Yes, that's great.
So when we met Sam and Catherine, who are a married couple living with Down syndrome, we learned that they were competitive, are competitive ballroom dancers. And that was all the inspiration it took for the designers to say, well, we are going to give them clothing to dance in. The shirt you saw of mine is inspired from Sam's shirt. His shirt's designed to move. It's designed to be worn untucked, and the trousers are stretch. So they've got a lot of give to them, even though they're quite dressy. And then, of course, this incredible ball gown that has a beautiful red lining and beautiful red tulle coming out. And a very interesting feature on the back of that, I don't know if you saw that as she's dancing by. But in order for her to be able to pull the zipper up herself, we put a very long, lovely piece of tape on that zipper so she can reach up and grab that. Shall I move to the next slide now? I think the video is probably done.
That's great.
Now.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you. So what have we learned? Well, first of all, Scan and Go technology needs improvement. Now, listen, I am not holding anybody's toes to the fire here. If I call vendors' names out, it's because they are working with us. We are very open. This is new territory. Obtaining accurate body measurements and generating an artificial intelligence pattern is a few years out, I would argue. It's coming along, and we're very delighted with the progress that we've made. But, people really don't love body scanning. It is a bit invasive. I've had body scans and mini-me done in my career, and you don't really know what you look like until you can pick yourself up and turn yourself around 360. You just don't know. Scanners are also not accessible for everyone. We have some of the best scanners in the world, don't accommodate wheelchair users. And measurements taken from photos and videos aren't accurate enough to create real accurate customer measurements for artificial intelligence pattern making. Now, some of the vendors will argue that they are, and we are getting there. We are working to improve these extractions. We are working to generate these patterns wherever possible. And then we are teaching the systems and using artificial intelligence to continue to improve the process. That is one of the biggest things that we're focused on now. Except that this week we're really focused on our first runway show. So as part of London Represents, this Saturday, we have our very first show. Our brand ambassadors on the walk, roll, the catwalk. We're so excited with all of their bespoke creations. Over the moon to have Emmanuel Kelly, who will be, and many of you may know Emmanuel, but he is an incredible entertainer and founder of Outlier, and his co-founder, Adam Morse, who is here next to him, is also walking the catwalk. And Adam has actually created a song that we're playing, and this will be the first place that anyone's heard this particular song. You may have heard of Adam. He is a blind filmmaker, film director, singer, writer, you name it. And so we've decided that the press is going to call him the first blind man to walk the catwalk. Very excited about this, and we have an opportunity. We've created some clothing and some collections with Emmanuel and Adam to benefit their charitable foundations, and so the sale of that will benefit two different causes. but I'm not really going to talk so much about that other than to say, in getting ready for this show, please come, please watch it. We will be live streaming. We have created a biker jacket, and we did this in partnership with Azat Mard. The founder of Azat Mard, actually, I met at Marangoni University, and he was kind enough to give us the pattern to his jacket. If you want to show the 3D turntable, you can do that now while I'm talking a little bit about it. But we took the jacket, we improved. Yeah, go ahead. We improved upon the pattern a bit, and we sent that back to him, of an amazing pattern maker who said some of these things could be done differently, and so we did. The jacket is made of neoprene, not of leather, and we are gifting this jacket to one of our brand ambassadors who, because of his atypical body morphology, has not been able to ever get a biker jacket, and it's one of his dream pieces of clothing. And so I'm really excited for this show because we're presenting this to him there. And a big shout out to the people at YKK. When they understood what we were doing, they jumped through hoops to get us the zippers, not only in time, but as sponsors of this jacket. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you. But what have we learned? We've learned that when we take something from a man's medium to atypical body morphology, it doesn't come out very accurately. And we use a lot of different technology. So I'm just going to show you here, trying to go from a man's medium in 3D using Blender. Not exactly representation, and certainly not. We take these measurements physically as well. We're called, like I said, engineers, scientists, lab technicians. So we're comparing physical and digital throughout the process. Let's try it again. Well, you can see this one doesn't even look like the other ones, and you can imagine it probably doesn't look like the individual very much. And we've been working very closely with Chloe in terms of this body weight distribution. How is this doing it? Where we seem to have problems, not really not wanting center front and center back measurements around people that don't that aren't typical, standard, and symmetrical. And here's the thing. All this tech is based on symmetry. It's all based on symmetry. When we took it into Browseware, again, another partner that we're working with, a very different result. And again, not accurate. And then move it into Dash 3D. Looks a lot like Blender, but again, different. And if you look at the distortion, it's quite interesting, isn't it? And in this particular instance, the individual has a larger neck, shorter shoulders, shorter arms. It's bringing the arms longer, it's shortening the legs, and it's extending the weight distribution in a very strange way. Okay, so let's look at something else. What if someone's missing half an arm, missing a full leg, and their other leg is in a brace? What is the technology going to do with that? Well, here we are in Chloe. In fact, this particular client is short, and Chloe wouldn't allow us to put the accurate height measurements in because it deemed too short. And again, you can see full arms, full legs, not representational at all. Now, we're working with Chloe to fix this. Again, I'm holding no one's toes to the fire. I'm sharing with you this because we are honest and we are working hard together to make this happen. This is not a call out that someone's terrible or wrong, right? Here we are with Browseware. Again, symmetry. We're not missing an arm, we're not missing a leg, and very difficult with hardware, which, by the way, is also difficult in any scanner to strip out or any photograph to strip out. Yes, it can be done, but it's not there. So what have we learned? Guess what, guys? Our basic fashion tech is flawed. It's really exciting that Microsoft is doing this incredible stuff that says if you're behind a tree, machine learning and artificial intelligence can fill you in. But can it? It assumes that we are symmetrical. Well, actually, we're really not. But for pattern making purposes and for fashion purposes, we've made this assumption. You see where I'm coming with excluding people? There are a billion people out there who are completely excluded because the assumption from the base tech is that we're symmetrical. So we're working very, very, very hard to improve this. And would absolutely love to have any of you involved in the work that we're doing. I had the delightful pleasure of meeting Emily Frieda Sharp, and she's a film director. She has two very different sized hands, and we got onto a very big conversation where she said, Craig, the metaverse is biased. Sorry, I have typed there, metaversa. Maybe that's really what it is. In order for her to buy gloves, she can only buy gloves if they sell mother-daughter sets, because she can wear a daughter size on one hand and her adult size, or what the industry deems as the adult size, on the other hand. And she's so intrigued by this that she's doing a documentary on it. Fundamentally, she can't create her own avatar with two different size hands, right? So this is coming from the film industry. This is Fiona Jarvis. She's the founder of Blue Badge Style. She's one of our brand ambassadors. She will be on the runway on Saturday. And she works, she has founded Blue Badge Style, which is a TripAdvisor, if you will. Where can we go as wheelchair users and have the same experience? Enjoy drinks, enjoy a spa treatment, enjoy an amazing hotel. Don't tell me the place is accessible if you just have one corner or one table. All right. And I put this quote up here because I just think that this is the attitude. We are not disabled. It's the environment that disables us. Enough said. If you want to see more about what we're doing, please do log on to the website. It's going to be up and down because we are in the midst of adding lots of new content, things about the show, and a couple of new surprises for this weekend. But under our humble beginnings, you can watch our full presentation that we did at the ASA conference. I warn you, it's 20 minutes, but that conference was in French. So we did a presentation with video, and we had French subtitles on the video here on the website. We've removed the subtitles, but you do have to commit 20 minutes. I said I wasn't going to talk the whole time. Instead, I was going to leave my details up, and I wanted to take questions because I'm hoping I have expanded your horizon. I know you've had some amazing talks today, Cameron, before. We are all looking at the world differently. And I would argue COVID has been the catalyst for that. And goodness knows, personally, for me, it was and has been. But we can fix this. And as my friend Adam Peacock says, who is an interarts multidisciplinarian who does incredible stuff to have us think about brands and fashion and advertising and our behavior towards those, the only way we're going to fix this is be part of the conversation. So now let's have a conversation. What would you like to ask me? Or you're just bored to tears, in which case, I'm sorry you fell asleep.
Not at all, not at all, Craig, and I love that, right? I love that quote, we are not disabled, the environment disables us. And yes, thank you so much for allowing some time for Q&A. We do have a couple of questions. If you have some questions for Craig, please put them up. We also have some shout outs. I believe Lori, who used to work with you at CDI Electra, is in the audience.
Oh, wow. Hello, Lori. Oh.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's see what other questions we have.
Oh, thank you. That's a great compliment.
Let's see. You have to excuse me, we have so many different screens opened. All right, so we have a question from Fair. Thank you for saying that. It's the hardest thing to see in the good side of adversity. All right.
Craig, I actually have a question. I'm just going to pop up in here. The approach to sustainability and responsible consumption that Fer was talking about, can you tell us a little bit more about your thought process behind how you've developed your manufacturing process?
Sure. You know, I started my career as a textile designer, and anyone in the audience who comes from fashion knows the longest lead time is yarn dyes, right? And that's what drives the entire fashion calendar. So, and the commitment to raw materials long before silhouette development is finalized. And, you know, that whole juggling of capacity at a mill and a factory. Oh, it's all about cotton. Hang on a minute, we've changed our minds. It's all about linen. Can you do linen? No, but can you do cotton linen blend? Oh, so this juggling of capacity against a timeline to keep prices low, to keep And what keeps prices low is longer lead time to make this fabric and juggling then and promising the capacity, but not even knowing if it's going to sell, not basing it on data. Sorry, my merchandising friends, you know the market, but we don't necessarily base it on data yet, but we can now, right? So why wouldn't we look at this differently? Why do we need to say we need our own exclusive fabrics? There's enough out there. And by the way, we do need some fabrics because we're learning that repurposed fabrics don't always meet the needs of our consumer. For a child, drooling in public is acceptable. For an adult, it's not. I've got fabrics that are luxury fabrics that were designed for ladies who lunch on Rodeo Drive. They're not going to be water repellent. They're not going to easily hide the fact that if an adult does drool, we need something. Or if they have a muscle spasm and what they're eating goes all over them, how do we quickly clean that up and let them get on? Because this is just part of life. It's just who they are. Nothing wrong with it. It's just a fact. So why did we need to buy into that? We didn't. Why do we need to buy into that long lead time, produce all of that? I mean, this is a terrible thing to say, but I'm going to say it. I have the fortune of buying these materials because brands have made mistakes. Why do we have all this excess raw material? So that's what started it. And digital fabric printing, I've been playing with that, golly, my whole career. We digitally printed sample yardage way back when at Old Navy and Baby Gap because we couldn't get samples because the product was, much smaller, and so we could print in-house. And I carried that through all of my the companies I've ever worked with. So understanding that as well, just thought it's a natural fit. Why aren't we looking at what's out there? Then that means we can manufacture on demand, which we do. And that comes with its challenges and its cost. We have two price points here. I've got bespoke, which is this manufacturer actually wonderful, beautifully exclusive, and then our custom, which allows consumers to customize, but in less expensive fabrics and more easy to manufacture to keep costs down. And the other thing that we juggle is our consumers. Some of them have to live within a certain income because they'll lose their social services or health benefits. So we need to be able to provide price points for them as well. Anyway, so that's how all of this sort of came together, because it's the marriage, I think, of creativity and tech. And I've been banging on for this for years. Any of you who know me, the convergence of gaming and the convergence of fashion tech and the convergence of data and analytics and Hollywood cinematography is allowing us to do these things, as Cameron has showed you, that are completely revolutionary and look real, and people don't know the difference. So why wouldn't we start with that first and then make after and make from what we have available? So that's kind of the thought process behind that.
No, absolutely. And you're gonna have to excuse me because I did have someone WhatsApp me a question for you and I was looking for it, but I missed the stream, the email, the WhatsApp, the texting. I kind of went a bit blank, but I think you answered the question, which was what were the biggest challenge moving into production with some of these products? And so materials, cost, technology
cost,
limitations.
Tech limitations. Yeah, it's all a learning curve. It's all a learning curve, but I'd get bored otherwise. So I like a challenge, as anyone who knows me. And the global team, there's about 15 of us now, and I think we have a combined experience of 200 years or something. It's quite daunting. But we know how the industry works. We know the limitations, and we also know what the opportunities are.
Absolutely, and I think it's important, right, to have someone with that sort of level of knowledge and experience on the in, trying to help people who are usually cast, out. We have a question here from Fair. Do you think the business model is possible for different market/audience?
I do. I absolutely do. I actually think that this is the model going forward that the fashion industry should be able to follow. It de-risks everything because you're working with your customer. They are getting what they want from you. Your inventory problem goes away. If you're able to work and manufacture regionally, your carbon footprint is smaller. You're not at risk. I mean, a lot of big organizations, look, I still have my consultancy. I still help big corporations. De-risking the supply chain is a very hot topic right now. Understanding second and third tier suppliers. We are soon going to have to do that legislatively. So I think It's hard to turn the oil tanker. It's hard to flip when you're running, right? When you're on a market, you've got these lead times. This is how you've always worked. But I do think that this is this would work for everyone. And I also think that it doesn't need to be someone who's, for want of a better term, living with disability. It can be all sorts of, people who, and I don't want to get into trouble here, but we have different body morphologies, and the more embracing and the more understanding we are of the transgender community, a man who has transitioned to a woman still has a man's skeleton. And so finding something to fit, right? I would not call that a disability. Someone who's taller, someone who's shorter, someone who's heavier, and just someone who's normal, whatever that means.
Right.
You know what I mean? It works
absolutely.
for everybody. And I think when you are involved in creating your own clothes and expressing yourself, then you're going to hang on to them longer too. I think you're willing to pay a little bit more, but I think you're going to hang on to them and you're going to appreciate it. I mean, if you scan that, you'll see, who made my clothes, and what's coming next is who made my fabric. I mean, we're going all the way down to that level. So,
perfect.
Anything else you'd like to ask?
No, I mean, I guess a personal question for me, and I see this question from, is it Baboa? Is, the ongoing conversations, are there ongoing conversations with these 3D companies on including disabled avatars?
Yes.
It sounds to me like it's more of a collaboration, not to, disrespect any of these 3D tech software companies, because I think the willingness is there to try to sort of come up with a solution.
That's right. That's right. And that's exactly what we're looking to do. How do we make things that are not based on symmetry? And they are very excited and eager to do that.
Fantastic. Yeah. Craig, well, thank you so much, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry to miss this. I'm not in London this weekend, but I'll be cheering you on from this side of the pond.
That's okay. We're live streaming on our Instagram and Facebook account. I shouldn't give that away, but I will. And obviously, it'll be on demand on the website. So, and we're launching this, and we're launching the store as well. Just a few things.
just a couple of things to keep you busy this weekend. All right. Well, good luck with all of that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Take care. All right. Well, what a powerful story. Like I said, if you're in London, please join Craig at the National Liberal Club, where he'll be launching the Differently Enabled store this weekend. See now, buy now, off the runway. We will send that information on the chat.